Hello everybody, new league and new meme build. So for today I have a new meme build to show you guys. I think it's pretty cool. This meme build is focusing around the different Legacy of the Rose Shaper staffs. There are 3 different versions of this staff, but I'm only using 2, and I'll be weapon swapping between the 2 when I'm mapping and when I'm bossing. But just to show you what this staff does, when we use 2000 energy shield to cast our spells, we're going to be able to reach 10 Shaper Remembrance stacks, and when we have 10 Remembrance stacks, we're able to cast Shaper himself. Call Shaper to help us out. Alright, so we press the button for 10 Remembrance, and then we can call Shaper out. This is one of the staves that summons the Shaper Magic Balls, and the other one does the Shaper Slam, which is at 4,000 damage effectiveness attack. Oh, that's a visual bug. Let me do this again. Oh, we get the bug again. Yeah, there are lots of bugs with this weapon, by the way. Yep, like that. Alright, and the third staff that I don't have is the one where he does that damage over time beam. Alright. But anyways, let me jump into a map to show you how this thing looks in a map. I'm just doing Jungle Valley with like an Alpha and Gold strategy. Alright, so once we get into maps, we want to press the aura for 10 Remembrance stacks. And then after that, you just want to be casting it once in a while. And he's just going to be firing these balls all across the screen. It's got a large coverage as well. It's pretty fun to see. Now, there are problems with this attack because it's so damn slow. You could actually walk faster than the balls, right? So you can't really map with it too fast or too well. So you really do need a support skill. And in this case, I'm using Penance Brand, and this thing says it does 11 million DPS on the tooltip. It doesn't really do that much, but you know, it's just cool to see this large number. Alright, so when we see these essence monsters, we can also preemptively summon Shaper, and he will just kill it in a single slam. That's kind of fun. Oh, we've got one of these Syndicate members, which we can also kill in a single slam. Everything died in a single hit. That's pretty cool. Alright, so I am trying to farm Hit that fled for her card, but it just doesn't seem to be dropping for me. All equipment transportation members, why not? Yep, alright, that's cool. And he's going to be firing balls in a wrong direction here. But luckily our Penance Brand does so much damage that we don't really need to be using Shaper. We're just using Shaper for fun. Right? We really are. You can preemptively use the aura to get 10 Shaper stacks though. That's another problem with the weapon. You have to wait until Shaper is done casting this spell in order to get more. Yeah. It's not a fast build by any stretch of the imagination, but it is very fun to see. Currency. Yep, we're just looking for Redon. We skip all the mirages. Maps. Man, I just never get tired of seeing Shaper come out and just do a massive slam. Yep, and this is how the build works. It's pretty fun to see him come out and just kill Lodge Pack. He's very, very slow though. Like, I'm usually a Necromancer main, but I've built so many different Necromancer builds in the past. I was looking for a minion type or like a new monster to make a build around. And I found this staff, and I was like, oh, this is kind of like having Shaper as your minion. So that's why I built this staff, built around the staff. So it's kind of like a Necromancer build, but it's a very, very many button Necromancer build. Alright, and I'm going to skip the map boss because I never usually do those. Okay, so let's go back and... Oh, there's a monster here. Let's go back and talk about this build. Yep, and that's how mapping looks like for this build. Okay, so let's talk about how this works. In order to summon Shaper to your map, you need to have spent 2,000 mana, because you gain 1 remembrance when you spend 200 energy shield. But we don't want to be casting our spells 5 times or 10 times in order to get 10 stacks. We want to be able to just call Shaper out whenever we want. And the best way to do it, I think, is with March of the Legion, because it's great. It also gives you +5 levels of Socket Aura Gems, and when you combine that with the staff itself, you're getting +10 levels to all spell skill gems. So our Hatred Aura and our Zealotry Aura are both level 30, which is very good, very high, right? And I was looking at other setups so that we can just press 1 button to reach 10 stacks, and I saw other setups using stuff like Whispers of Infinity, but I didn't like this amulet at all because it does nothing for the build. I've seen people use this amulet alongside with stuff like Corrupting Fever, so that they would be spending 2,000 or like 1,000 energy shield per press. But I just felt like it's such a waste of an amulet spot, especially for this league where we got stuff like the Diamond Shrine belt. So every single hit of ours is a crit, and now we're able to put a Marlene's Fallacy in here for just 300 crit multiplier, and also get Culling Strike. Right, so everything is a crit, and now we're able to just use March of the Legion to press 1 button, be able to summon Shaper, and he just does a massive amount of damage. Alright, so some of the problems I ran into for this build is the bugs that this staff has. Everything that Shaper does not count as your kill. I don't know if this is intentional on GGG's part, because, you know, it's Shaper that's killing the monsters, not you, right? So maybe they didn't want you to get the kills for it. But his kills do not count as yours. What that means is you also do not get any flash charges for his kills. You get no experience points, no flash charges. You cannot level up. So to get around that, we are doing 2 things. One, we are having a support skill. In this case, we are using Penance Brand, which I think is a perfect skill to work with the Shaper attacks, because we are using 2 different versions of the staff. One for mapping and the other for bossing, right? But we need a way to connect the bridge so that we can utilize both staves, you know, and also make a cohesive build that just scales 1 attribute, right? So we're going for, we're using the Inquisitor mainly for Instruments of Virtue to get Battle Mage. Battle Mage makes it so that our physical attack, which is this 600 attack on the staff, just gets added to our spell damage. And that's great, because now it makes our Shaper Balls do more damage. And also makes our Penance Brand reach extremely high numbers, like this 9 million DPS, right? Like, obviously it doesn't do that much damage. You know, Penance Brand's tooltip DPS is just bugged or something like that. But having bigger numbers is always better than having lower numbers, right? Like, and if you look at the Shaper Slam, it's also saying 9.5 million as well. So that's a lot of damage. Alright, so we are using Battle Mage, and since we have the Diamond Belt, we are able to use the Inevitable Judgment that we're getting from Flesh and Flame Jewels, right? This way we can completely ignore enemies' elemental resistances. And that is why we're able to do just massive, heavy damage slams, right? Oh, we get that visual bug again. Shaper sometimes just doesn't finish his slam, but he still does the attack, you just can't see it. It's that visual bug this unique item has. GGG just loves to put out these items with tons of bugs in them, right? Yeah, anyways, and also because we're using the belt slot for our diamond belt, we're unable to use Mage Blood, right? Because we're scaling damage to the moon with this build. We can't use Mage Blood for defenses. We have no way to fix our resistances, and we have no way of getting like a avoid shock flask for ailment immunity. So to get ailment immunity on this character, we're using a unknown, like lesser known unique item, which is our Fire Song Jewel. Like this one even has corrupted blood cannot be inflicted on you. I bought this for literally one single chaos. You know, this is an amazing jewel that nobody likes to use that you can buy for extremely cheap. So what this jewel does is it has modifiers to ignite duration on you applied to all elemental ailments. And we have 2 rings with the crafted modifier of reduce ignite duration on you. What that means is that whenever you get ignited, frozen, chilled, or shocked, the duration of that ailment on you becomes 0. So you are basically ailment immune. But you're only partially ailment immune because when you step on stuff like shocked ground, because the shocked ground has infinite duration, you will always be shocked when you're on those shocked ground. So to get around that, we have, oh well, we can't get around shocked ground. That's impossible to get around with, but we can get around chilled ground by using Brine King for reduce effective chill. And for burning ground, we have Soul Vabrath to be immune to burning ground. So that's how we become ailment immune on this build. Before I swap to this Cogwork ring for just more of the gain 10% of physical damage as extra fire, which is something that we're doing for this build. All right, we're scaling physical damage, and then we're converting it into elemental damage so that we can ignore enemies' elemental resistances with inevitable judgment. And then we are also getting a whole bunch of physical damage as extra fire on our rings and on our tree, you know, with stuff like a lethal pride that gives you physical damage, and the physical damage is extra fire and extra lightning and extra fire. Whole bunch of these on our tree, right? And of course we also have our Light of Meaning. This is probably the most expensive item on this build. You can easily put this build together, although I don't really recommend it. It's a fun build, but it's such a slow build that it's not really worth its investment. I'm just building it because I wanted to make a meme build, and for this league we actually have in Kirax rewards the Eradicator Decay armor set, which is basically Elder, right? So you can really look like Shaper himself with his staff and his like Elder looking armor, right? Like you kind of look like Shaper. This is the reason why I built made this character, because I wanted to make a Shaper look like. Right? And I wanted him to be able to just summon Shaper on command. Alright, to showcase his real damage, I'm just going to go and fight a Black Barrier to show you exactly how much damage he can really do. He can do like a third or a half of the boss's HP bar in a single hit. Alright, so once we get in, we want to activate our Hatred, right? So we can have the aura on, have the 10 remembrance stacks. Before he fully comes out, we want to cast this again and also tap our curses. And then call Shaper. Shaper comes out and just does like half his entire bar. That's crazy. And then we're going to call Shaper out again. He's going to slam him again. Alright, he's going to do this thing. And we're going to call Shaper out again, and in a single hit, he should just die. Yep. Give me a belt. Yes. Cool. Yeah, so this build does a lot of damage, but it is just uber slow. I guess it's better as a bosser than a mapper, especially since you do not get experience points from killing monsters using Shaper anyway, right, because of the items bug. But it's still so damn cool. I never get tired of seeing Shaper come out and do his attacks. But I do think that the best 2 versions of the stave are definitely the Shaper Balls and his 4,000 damage effectiveness slam, right? Because as you can see, we do a lot of damage to the bosses. But yes, this is the best way of building this build. I think I'm gonna skip sharing POB because it's not a great build. Oh yeah, one more thing. To get around not getting experience points from killing monsters, we have the support skill, and also we have an explosion armor, right? And we also have endurance charges on this armor, just for a little extra layer of defenses. Right? The explosions do give you experience points because that counts as your kill. So the Shaper can kill the first monster, and then the explosion that comes after counts as your kill. So you still kind of get experience points from those kills. I'll talk about the rest of the gear, I guess. We have a rune graph because of the jeweler, so we get increased damage for each unlinked socket on our weapon, which is perfect because our weapons are completely unlinked because we are supporting a skill that is given to us from the equipment. And here we have this cluster jewel. We have another unspeakable gifts mod on it so that we can get additional explode chance. Prior to getting this cluster jewel and this armor, we were leveling with Foulborn's Barracks or Spite. This was like 10 chaos at the time, which basically gives you free explosions. And our best in slot Watcher's Eye, something that we absolutely do need, and that is this one right here. We have physical damage converted to an element. We want this mod because our elemental damage ignores enemies' resistances. Of course, I need to divine this up, but that's fine. And also, we have a low chance to block spells, so you want chance to block while affected by discipline, or you want the determination one, which is chance to block attacks while affected by determination. And finally, because we're not using a Quicksilver Flask, we're not using a Quartz Flask, and because the Shaper skills are so damn slow, if you are not running this mod right here, which is you have phasing while affected by haste, you're just going to be running into monsters, waiting for these Shaper balls to catch up. So you really want this mod, which is phasing while affected by haste. And because we're so damn slow, because we don't have a belt, we don't have Quicksilver Flask, we're forced to use haste so that we can kind of move faster. Right, yep, and that's basically it. We've got a steel skin automation and flame dash setup over here. We got the jewels to support the two Shaper attacks. We got the penance brand on this gloves, which I crafted with the essence so that we can have more attack and cast speed. And so this penance brand kind of becomes a semi 6-link with the imbued gem of Swift brand. So penance brand, Swift brand, critical damage, control destruction, spell echo, and also socketed gems have more cast speed, which gives us a whole bunch of cast speed and damage. So we're sitting at like multiple million DPS on the tooltip. And when we buff it up, it goes to like 9 million, which is crazy. It obviously doesn't do this much damage, but it's just fun to see such a large number. And that is basically it for this build. Let me know if you guys want more details on this build. Just leave your questions down below. See you guys next time. Bye bye.